In a world that never stops spinning, have you ever felt like you're just a tiny boat tossed on a restless sea? Your mind, a storm of what-ifs and should-haves, with no calm harbor in sight. This was Elena's world, every single day. She was a gifted artist, but her canvas was often just a reflection of her own inner chaos. The future was a towering monster, and the past, a chain she couldn't break. Anxiety was the air she breathed, heavy and suffocating. Elena lived in a small town, nestled by a forest that locals said was as old as time itself. She loved the quiet streets, but even there, her mind raced. A missed call meant she'd done something wrong. A friend's quiet mood was surely her fault. Sleep was a battle she rarely won, her nights filled with rehearsing conversations that never happened and bracing for disasters that were only real in her head. Her sketchbook, once a source of joy, was now filled with frantic, unfinished lines, a perfect portrait of her fragmented thoughts. One afternoon, feeling particularly overwhelmed, Elena fled to the ancient forest. She hoped the rustling leaves and dappled sunlight might quiet the storm inside. She walked for what felt like hours, not following any path, just trying to outrun her own thoughts. It was then that she saw her, sitting on a moss-covered log as if she'd grown there with the trees. An old woman, her face a beautiful map of wrinkles, her eyes holding a deep, peaceful calm. She was weaving a small basket from blades of grass, her fingers moving with a slow, deliberate grace. Elena hesitated, not wanting to disturb the serene scene. But the woman looked up and smiled, a genuine, warm smile that seemed to reach right into Elena's anxious heart. "Lost, little bird?" she asked, her voice like the gentle gurgle of a nearby stream. Elena just nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. She felt a sudden urge to unload the weight she'd been carrying for so long. She sat down, and the words just tumbled out. The constant fear, the sleepless nights, the feeling of being trapped in her own mind. The old woman listened patiently, her gaze never wavering. She didn't offer empty reassurances or quick fixes. When Elena finished, her voice hoarse with emotion, the old woman simply held up the blade of grass she was weaving. "Look at this," she said softly. "Right now, in this moment, it is just a blade of grass. It is not worried about becoming a basket, nor does it mourn being plucked from the earth. It simply is. Your mind, my dear, is always trying to weave the future or unravel the past. But your life, your true life, is happening right here, in this single precious blade of grass." Elena looked at the blade of grass, then at her own trembling hands. The old woman's words were simple, yet they felt profound. "But how?" Elena whispered. "How do I stop the worrying?" The woman smiled again. "You don't stop it, you notice it. And then you gently bring yourself back to your breath, back to the feeling of the ground beneath your feet, back to this moment. That's all." She then handed Elena a smooth gray stone from her pocket. "When the storm comes, hold this. Feel its coolness, its weight, its texture. Let it be your anchor to the now." Over the next few weeks, Elena visited the old woman, whose name she learned was Ilara, almost every day. Ilara didn't give her grand lectures. Instead, she taught through action. They would walk silently through the forest, and Ilara would point out the way a spider spun its web, the scent of damp earth after rain, the sound of a woodpecker tapping on a distant tree. She taught Elena to truly see, to hear, to smell, to feel. She taught her the language of the present moment. One day, Ilara asked Elena to draw the stream they often sat by. Elena's first instinct was to capture the entire rushing scene, a task that felt overwhelming. "No," Ilara said gently, "don't draw the stream. Draw the way the light dances on a single ripple." Just that one, Elena focused. She watched a tiny spot on the water's surface, how the light hit it, shimmered, and disappeared, only to be replaced by another. She took a deep breath and let her charcoal move. For the first time in years, her hand wasn't shaking. The lines were firm, confident. She wasn't drawing her anxiety. She was drawing a moment of light. It wasn't a magical cure. The anxious thoughts still came. The monster of the future still tried to loom. But now, Elena had an anchor. When she felt the familiar tightness in her chest, she would stop. She'd close her eyes, feel the cool stone in her pocket, or just focus on the rhythm of her own breathing. She would listen for the farthest sound she could hear, and then the closest. She would bring herself back, again and again, to the here and now. The storm was still out there on the horizon, but she was no longer a tiny boat being tossed around. She was the captain, anchored securely in the calm harbor of the present. Her art transformed. Her sketchbooks began to fill with life. She drew the intricate patterns on a fallen leaf, the gentle curve of a fern, the peaceful expression on Elara's face. Her art was no longer about chaos. It was about finding the beauty in the small, quiet moments. It was a celebration of being present. People in town noticed the change. They saw a new light in Ilana's eyes, a quiet confidence in her posture. Her art started selling, not just because it was beautiful, but because people felt the peace within it. One afternoon, Elena went to the forest to find Ilara, a new sketchbook in hand, filled with drawings she was eager to share. But the mossy log was empty. She waited, but Ilara didn't appear. Elena felt a pang of panic, the old fear creeping back. But then she stopped. She took a deep breath. She looked around at the ancient trees, listened to the gurgling stream, and felt the solid earth beneath her. Ilara wasn't there, but her teachings were everywhere. They were in the rustling leaves, the dancing light, the very air she was breathing. Elena sat on the log, opened her sketchbook, and began to draw. She didn't know what the future held, or if she would ever see Ilara again, but in that moment, it didn't matter. She was calm, she was present, she was free. The storm hadn't vanished forever, but she had learned to be the anchor in her own life. And she realized that the greatest healing doesn't come from changing our circumstances, but from changing our relationship with the only moment we ever truly have right now. If Elena's story resonates with you, know that you're not alone in your struggle. Finding your own anchor might seem difficult, but it starts with a single small step, a single breath. If you're feeling overwhelmed, please reach out. Talk to a friend, a family member, or a mental health professional. There's strength in seeking help, and peace is possible. Thank you for watching and sharing this time with me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story if it touched your heart. Until next time, be present and be kind to yourself.